Work, 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 work. Dirt, 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 dirt. What is she saying there? That is Rihanna. If you didn't, if you didn't recognize that little sound bite, because I obviously don't know. I love that song, but I don't know what she's saying. Hold on, I'm Googling it right now. While I pull that up, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Malika Lee. You're listening to Answering the Inner Call here, the Inner Call podcast, and we're going to be diving into point 4 of our 5-pointed How to Be a Spiritual Shining Star. And that is doing the spiritual work, honey. I don't know what this work, 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 work. He said happy. Work, work. What is happy? Haffi? Is that a typo or is that a real word? Okay, I'm not gonna spend much more time trying to Google. I'm like, what are we really talking about here in this song? Happy is a word. Happy meaning. Happy is patois. Oh, it's a Jamaican patois. A thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's also, oh, it's a Barbados. I know she's from Barbados. Happy. Oh, it's have to. So, oh, he said happy, so work, 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 work. He said me happy, so she has to work, 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 work. Okay, okay. Listen, I'm getting a whole education, which isn't the education I was planning on us talking about today, but yet here we are. Work, 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 work. We're about to get to spiritual work, 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 work. So, spiritual work, like I said, the 4th point of the 5-pointed spiritual star. I consider spiritual work part of the feminine energy of this whole spiritual practice. Like I said, there's masculine energy associated with this. The feminine is more of the emotions of the heart, of what's considered more of an inner thing, practice part, whereas the other parts, masculine is usually associated with the intellect and the mind, outer expression, feminine inner expression, and emotions. So spiritual work is all about the heart, boo. Whoo! I think this is the work that people avoid the most. Part of it is our lack of, in the Western world anyway, with patriarchy and things being associated with the feminine being considered less than or misunderstood. Or, I've heard people talk about the feminine energy being chaotic. I totally 1000% want to go on the record and say I 1000% disagree with that, because I think the intellect, the mind, and logic is considered linear, whereas the feminine energy also has like a logic to it, but it's just not a linear point 1, point 2, point 3. It's way more complex and way more dynamic. So, for example, we might look at, let's talk about the weather, right? Because there's Mother Earth and the weather, things are always changing and in flux. And we might look at a storm, and if we're just looking at this isolated storm, it seems chaotic or it doesn't have any logic or reasoning. But then if you look at a bigger picture and you're like, oh, there's warm front over here and there's wind pushing down over here and all these different things, then make the storm make complete sense. And so I think that generally our scope when we're looking at, let's say, our emotions or things like that are a way, we're looking through it of a small lens, when it really requires a huge tapestry to have context and understanding of its logic, because it is intelligent and logical. It just may not be, you may just not have all the pieces for it to make sense at that time. So I want to challenge that notion of the feminine energy in that way and say that it is highly dynamic, highly intelligent, highly robust. And within those pieces, it is also highly logical, but just not linear from the mental and masculine perspective of it. With that being said, the spiritual work, it's where it gets real, y'all, because it deals with feelings, like I said before, being in a patriarchal society and things being associated with feminine or women as not being valued and or really cherished or understood. This is an area that often people avoid, and we are supported in avoiding it with either workaholism or any kind of really addiction, self-medicating. And we all have addictions, right? Some are just considered more respectable than others. My addiction to working all the time worked well for me when I was in school. But what I was doing underneath that was avoiding some things that I really didn't have the capacity emotionally otherwise to deal with, to feel, to heal at that time. Now I do. And so the spiritual work, ooh, this is where the gold is. Oh, I could have done living my life like it's golden. I'll say that for another episode somewhere else, down the stream, down the road. Rihanna's holding us down today. But the spiritual work is where it gets real, because this is really where the gold is in applying all the tings, applying all the tings to become more and more refined, and a more and more refined embodiment and expression of our human potentiality as being powerful, as being loving, as being compassionate, of being peaceful, all the characteristics of the spirit that I've learned about over the years. And so what that requires then is holding up and doing the work to let go of, to release, to dismember all the things that are in the way to that spirit within us expressing itself. And we can become callous and hardened from our traumas, from our disappointments, from our grief. Because let's be real, this life school is no joke, honey. And sometimes it can be very difficult to navigate and understand and to deal with. And so we, to avoid dealing with it, we put a Band-Aid on things and try to keep moving. Eventually, though, it can catch up with us if we don't start doing the work. So I would say that is the spiritual work, and there's practices and processes. And most people don't approach it or feel like most of the problems I'm going to tell you in my life that I've been dealing with really get back to this as being the root of them. It's like some misbeliefs, some hurts, some other things going on that really required to be cleansed, to be, I'm going to say, detoxed, to be released and replaced, to really set other things in my life in motion and to free me up. So that's the best way I can describe it from the outside and its benefits. And, this is where therapy, like if for some people that are ready and willing to do their spiritual work, for me, what it's looked like in this category has been, like I said, therapy. I've worked with intuitives and healers. I've worked with shamans. This is some of the work that I also do in supporting others, is really cleaning up, healing, releasing this part of and making whole and supporting this part of our lives, because that really, really frees up so much more energy for us to do the work and to enjoy life. This is where the joy, like we have the spiritual practice where it's like in this moment it raises the vibration, but it's the spiritual work that does the up-leveling to up-level your baseline. So yes, we can have a moment where we feel good. Like when people do drugs or something, there's that artificial high for that moment. It's like a bypass. But then guess what? When the high wears down, and if your baseline is self-loathing, you're going to go back down to that baseline of self-loathing until you find something else, drugs, whatever, to try to temporarily and artificially raise you up again to another level to feel better. And then when you're not high, and you drops again. So a spiritual practice can do that same thing in the sense of it's a temporary where it raises you up, or it can calm you down and it supports you more and more over time. However, a spiritual practice is like this. If you have a mud pie and your spiritual practice is icing, we can keep putting icing on top of that pie. And of course, if we put enough icing, we kind of forget that there's that mud underneath, right? and you can kind of put the icing on so thick that you can't even see any semblance of mud, but that mud is still there. And something might happen to swipe that icing, and then the mud reveals itself. Whereas the spiritual work, honey, is removing that mud and clearing that mud out underneath it. So I hope that analogy makes sense. And there's another analogy that I'm going to say as far as the benefits in a separate episode to bring it on home. But that is what I would say that I define as the spiritual work. Oftentimes, this is where we need additional support, whether it's books. Like I said, I've reached out to and received support in this area of healing through therapists and shamans. And, you know, a big proponent for me also in doing this work was The Presence Process, was a very valuable book that I read that deals with the emotions and emotional healing and wholeness and intelligence, as well as, what was the other one I wanted to say? Oh, University of Santa Monica, spiritual psychology. That gave me so many tools. And I think in a number of years, it took off light years off of my journey in the sense of doing some of that spiritual work and practicing it, amongst other things. But those are the ones that come to mind to share right now. If you, like I said, because oftentimes this work can be very challenging and is done often and better supported with a guide or someone to support you and witness and hold that space and give you tools and all the things to hold your hand. If you are ready to, and maybe you keep getting stuck, you may not know what the root of it is, but you know that your life is not in alignment. You keep getting stuck and you don't know why. Why am I dating the same dude over and over again that's a loser? And I just, keep being attracted to the same. He doesn't look like a loser at first. And then sure enough, after 3 or 4 months, give him time, the loser comes out. Why am I attracting that? And those kind of Groundhog's Day where you're repeating the same loop, this is where you can start getting free of that loop. So if you're ready, if that is speaking to something you're going through right now where you feel stuck or you keep repeating the same damn thing over and over and over again and you want off that merry-go-round and you want to do something different and would like support in that, then please click the link below if you'd like to explore what it would be like to work with each other and to get some support with that. It's just a 35-minute consult, no video, just audio of us getting better acquainted, finding out what you're up to, where you're stuck, what you're willing to do, and what you're willing to commit to move on and up through from that situation and circumstance. And if nothing else, we'll have a great conversation. There will be at least some insights, revelations, and potentially a longer-term support system in place for you to get the support and the tools to do that work so that you can break that cycle. So if that speaks to you, please click the link below and I'd be happy to explore being on that journey with you. If not, that's okay. I hope you got something out of this conversation today about spiritual work. I'm sending so much love, many blessings to you. Until the next episode, peace.